There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Michael Mammina is a master life coach with multiple certifications and global professional experience, whose passion is to create the space for successful people to increase their self-worth and net worth while achieving their desires. Self-worth is a dynamic of emotional and mental health that is often sadly neglected. There are so many nuggets of wisdom that Michael and I share throughout this conversation as coaches, as we share similar philosophies and the exact same mission. I hope you find what you need in this episode to be the change you need to be. Welcome, Michael, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me here today.
Now, you're joining us from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way in the States. For those who haven't heard of you, can you please go ahead and tell us who you are?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I am a multi-certified life coach, working with people here, specifically in the United States, although some international, to really work on the essence of some healing and self-love. And that's sort of my MO. I love using the tagline or working with people to always remember to fly, which is to first love yourself. And so I am a certified life coach. I am a health coach. I am a wedding officiant and a life cycle celebrant, which is really fun to do. I'm also an infinite possibilities trainer, which is why you see thoughts become things behind me, if you're familiar with Mike Dooley and his work. Mm-hmm. So I have lots of experience and lots of years working on myself, and then turned it toward being in service to others, leaving a 30-plus year career as a creative director for several giftware companies here in the United States, and just realizing it was time for me to shift and be in service to others. And, once I did my own work, that's when I realized how important it could be to support others in their work. So maybe that gives you a little bit about what I'm about.
And gosh, where do I start in all of that? There's so much there.
Wherever you want.
Now, I'm going to start with self-love, basically, because we're in 2023. There's a lot of people still today who don't like themselves. They really do not like themselves. And no doubt with the people that you speak to and coach, you'd see this every day. They can't find joy or passion in their life. They really despise themselves. How can we help people change those attitudes in their mind so they can see themselves in a different way?
Well, the way I actually do that is mirroring a journey I took on with myself, essentially. I was that person that really didn't love myself, didn't really even understand the concept of what self-love is. And through taking that journey inward, as I like to call it, and what I like to do is take people through that inner journey, which usually sometimes is the hardest journey that they can actually take. Mm-hmm. That's when we explore beliefs or worthiness or how to set healthy boundaries for yourself, how to really learn what self-love even is. And through taking that inner journey, you have that opportunity to really see what's in the way of you truly embracing your own ability to love yourself. Lady Gaga just posted something today, which I just loved, where she just said, when you learn to love yourself, then you could just let it out into the world and you can allow other people to love themselves as well. So when you take that journey to self-love and you take the steps toward that, then what you get in return is so much more love because you're seeing life in a very different way.
And, in the back of my mind, I think social media has a lot to answer for nowadays, particularly when it comes to self-acceptance, self-love, and the beliefs that we have, because, we see all the Instagram influencers, with all the bodies and all that kind of stuff. And that can do a lot to our own beliefs in our own self-image and how we perceive ourselves, can't it?
Yes, absolutely. Social media plays a huge part in that, as did traditional advertising and television for so many years. But what really is the core of a lot of our beliefs is all the way from when we were children. We are, I use the phrase, and it's nothing that I coined, but that we're meaning-making machines. So everything that we experience in life, we make it mean something about us. So if for instance, I was a bullied child, I made that mean that I wasn't worthy of so many things in life. So those beliefs that we take on as children, we carry them through our life. And then we're always playing that comparison game. And as you said, social media, hits us with all of these images of what we should or should not be. And we play that comparison game. And when I always say, when you play the comparison game, nobody wins. But the challenge is really looking at those beliefs. And I work a lot with my clients to look at what we call a shadow belief, or what Carl Jung actually called a shadow belief, where these beliefs are so deep inside of us, myself included at the time when I started the work, that you don't even realize that they're there, and they're really driving your life. Every choice, every action that you take comes from your beliefs about what you think about yourself, about where you fit into the world. And myself, being a gay man and being in a marginalized community, the world tells me that I'm not worthy and I'm not good enough on so many levels. So then you take that on and you go out into the world and you try and navigate, and things, you think things are fitting, but they're not quite fitting, and you don't exactly know why. And I know that was my experience. I always say, I used to feel like I was standing in a room full of people, but I really wasn't ever there because I never felt like I belonged because of my beliefs.
And some people listening to this might think, well, that's great, Michael, but I mean, how do we change these belief cycles that we have? How can we break those patterns so that we don't believe it anymore?
Well, I can tell you that there's a proven process that I take people through, where you identify where you're stuck in your life, or where there's a potential belief, or what that belief is. And these shadow beliefs sound very simple, like I'm not worthy, or I'm stupid, or I'm not good enough. And they usually come from an origin point in your childhood. So what we do is we identify where we're stuck. We identify where we formed that belief. We actually go back and we look for that point of origin, as we call it. We look at the situation now, not from the child who has sometimes a challenge discerning, but from an adult who can look at the situation differently and see what was really the truth, what is fact and what's fiction. What's the story I made up versus what really happened in your life. And when you could look at it and you could discern it from an adult's perspective, oftentimes what it does is it diffuses the belief, because you're actually able to say, oh yeah, I get why my mother was not giving me the ice cream, because we really didn't have the money, but I didn't know that at the time. I just thought that I wasn't good enough to have ice cream.
Yeah.
So we bust open those beliefs. And when we do, then we write, or we work toward what we call an empowering belief, where the other one is a little bit more disempowering. Mm-hmm. Then we work with what is an empowering belief. So once we know what is the truth, we can restructure it, and we could look for an empowering belief that then you could move forward in your life, realizing that old belief no longer serves you. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot of steps, but
yeah. And, beliefs can, like, if we can, just change the perspective of a belief and understand its origin and where it came from, like, that's life-changing stuff. I know I've had some really big aha moments where I've discovered where some beliefs came from. And into your 40s, you're still got this belief, and you're unconsciously making these decisions, doing these things, and you're going, why the hell am I doing this? And then you're like, oh, I get it now. Like, when you dig deep and you ask yourself the question, where did this come from? Where did this start? Why do I do this? What sits underneath that? And then I know for me, there was one in particular, it was around lack and scarcity and growing up, not having a lot of money, all those kind of things, and picking up that energy from parents who were also working incredibly hard. And then that lack and scarcity became a shared belief. And then you get later in life, and you have these beliefs around money and success and what you can have and all these kind of things. And if you can break those belief patterns, you can achieve great things. You really can.
Yes. There's something called generational beliefs, even, where it's like your grandparents might have thought something. So therefore, then your parents picked it up, and then they sort of gave it to you, and then you pass it on if you then have children. And it becomes like a generational thing that when you do the work and when you realize that it has been something that's been a belief of your family for a long, long time, you then have the opportunity to sort of break the chain, as I call it, and look at a lot of healing that I believe energetically could be healed going backwards, that then propels you to be able to move forward in a different way.
Now, I'm super curious, Michael, about infinite possibilities. Tell me more.
So infinite possibilities is just that we all have what it takes to have the life that we desire. Thoughts become things. When you think about it, it's going to sound very simple to say, as Mike Dooley likes to say, when you think about brushing your teeth, you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth. You make that happen. So infinitely, you can create anything if you really, really think about putting your mind to it. When you thought about potentially putting together this podcast, it was something that became a thought, an idea, and you put it out there and you figured out how to make it happen. When people start looking at things that they believe, that they know that they're feeling good about and successful about, they see that, yes, this was a thought that I had. And from that thought, I went into action. And there were times perhaps that I stumbled. And that's when, again, my work with beliefs come back in. What's in the way? What's blocking you? What is the belief of, well, my grandfather never made it on the radio. Why would I make it on the radio? Like something like that. How can I do a podcast? So we work through beliefs, and we then look at what's possible. And we look at who can support you to get there. What do you need in terms of resources, whatever the case may be, for you ultimately to get to where you want to be. I do the same thing with my reinvention coaching, or what I call jump coaching, jump and your life will appear, where if you have an idea of something that you really want in your life, we look at basically how we're going to get you there. And we're going to put a roadmap together. And the more you think about it and the more you put action toward it, the more it will actually manifest. When you intentionally, sometimes and not intentionally, you don't even know you're doing it, are sabotaging things like that, it won't ever happen. It just can't, because energetically you're sort of, squashing it before it even happens. So Infinite Possibilities is actually a program for adults and for children. There's a whole program that I teach for children for Infinite Possibilities, where you're really looking at, what is your desire? And then how do we get you there? And what is potentially in the way? And then what do we need to do to actually make it happen?
And I absolutely love this. And one of the things I love to talk about on this show is manifestation. And, people might think it's a little bit woo-woo, but it actually is real. I tell people, my formula for how I do it. And no doubt you and I are very similar in our approach, Michael. But, I'm also a spiritual coach. So I encourage people to write down with clarity every single thing they want to achieve. Doesn't matter how blue the sky is, just go for it. And what I've done is I've written down very specific things, like in infinite detail. And everything you see behind me, I've manifested from visions as well. So even my brand you'll see behind me was a vision. So all of these things, I can visually see them, feel them, and I'm experiencing them in my mind, and I put it out to the universe that this is exactly where I want to be, and I embody the entire experience, and then I let it go out to the universe. I don't try and drag myself toward it. I don't look for the how. I just trust and know that I'll get there, and by taking consistent action and doing the things that you need to do to get there, it'll all just fall into place seamlessly. And I've seen things happen for me that were written down on that list within 3 months. Like, you couldn't predict it. It just happened like that.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Yes. Yes. And I would know that it's because you have your knowing. The universe has your back. And that's what so much of Infinite Possibilities is about. It's trusting. Again, it's not in the how. It's the trusting that it's going to show up for you when it's time for it to show up.
And that's where intuition plays a big part as well, isn't it? Like understanding that knowing and that gut feel, like, is this right? Yes. Is this exactly on point? Is there any doubt or resistance? Because if there is, you're not on path.
Correct.
I find that intuition is so, so valuable. If you can tune that in and trust in it, it does amazing things.
Yes, absolutely. And, I love what you said about, like you can see it, you can feel it, you can, be it. So many people are afraid to even have a vision because they don't even think they're worthy of having a vision. That it takes them time to even get to that before they can get to that manifestation point.
Exactly.
And so many people want it on their timeline, and it doesn't always work that way. And I just had an experience, if I could share it quickly, where years and years ago, I was at a weekend seminar called The Shadow Process. And in it, I saw myself walking on a beach, wearing white, getting ready to be a leader of a retreat. And I was sort of like, wow, I wonder what that's about. Well, I just was in Costa Rica 3 weeks ago, and I was walking along the beach, and I was preparing for not to actually do the retreat, but I was preparing. I went to Costa Rica to build the retreat so that I can start bringing people on spiritual transformation journeys in Costa Rica. And I looked at myself and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm standing here. I'm wearing white. I'm walking on the beach. My vision has come to pass. There it is. Now it took 6 years, but it was there. And I knew it was there. and it felt so authentic. And that's what I love about trusting the universe and trusting yourself, because we are the universe.
Mm.
We are that. It's inside of us. That's why I love the journey to self-love, because the more you can turn inward, the more you can learn to love and trust yourself. Your knowing gets so much higher that you then can live in that flow that you were talking about.
Mm. There's two things out of that have just floated up for me, Michael, and one of those is dreams. And I'm talking subconscious dreams. I had a dream that a very good friend of mine and I were traveling around, and we were meeting all these really important people. Anyway, I was in LA last year. We were together going around meeting all these important people. I was like, this is it. It's just happened. Like, do you also experience that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There are times where I'm not even sure which dimension I'm actually in. Like, there are times where and even when I was just in Costa Rica, I had not ever been on a spiritual journey in Costa Rica, which I was this time, and doing all this deep work and doing all this planning. But there were days where I would wake up and I would go, okay, am I dreaming, or am I here? And I've been really, really fortunate also that I spent a lot of time in Peru, and would also have that alternate reality thing where I would be dreaming and then I would wake up and I was still sort of in it, which was really fascinating to me. And I also noticed for myself that when I get busy into my workaday world, so to speak, I sort of lose sight of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my sight, or whatever we want to call it, like, sort of fades away. And so now I very intentionally will make sure I start my day with some time where I do a morning practice where it's, I got to get focused. I've got to return to me. And I also have my four affirmations, or my 4 thoughts that I'm manifesting moving forward, which are coming to pass. One of the things that Mike always says too is write it down, as you said, do it on a Post-it note, stick it on your bathroom mirror. And each morning, if you just spend a couple of minutes, you're just reaffirming to the universe what you want. So.
And there's so many different ways and theories and, practices that people use for manifestation, and none of them are right or wrong, as long as they work for you and unique. I know, is it the founder of Mind Valley? He has one where he has this box, and it's like a box of secrets, and he writes them in there, and they manifest. So he puts them all in a box and puts them away. And then that's the way he does it. So everybody has, and then other people have affirmations. They have, and they have a certain number of times they've got to say it and all these kind of things. But again, it's coming back to beliefs, right?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that you said before that I wanted to touch on was, be really careful with your words. Like, be impeccable with the way you ask for what you truly desire, because that will dictate your outcome. So there are times where, like, I was with someone a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I've never I've never had the experience of, I don't even know what it was. Never had the experience of it was either in a dream or whatever it was. I'm sort of losing my track on this, but it's really important. So let me get to it. It was something like, no, I haven't actually had that happen to me in my life. And what she turned around and said to me, let's rephrase that and say, no, I wasn't aware of those things happening in my life until now. So it was just shifting that awareness slightly to I wasn't aware versus no, I've never had, which is sort of that, like, no is sort of moving it away versus I wasn't aware is sort of bringing it to you. So there is that expansion, and there's the contraction part of manifestation also, to be conscious of when we're in that mindset.
And, you know, I love that you've said that, because there's such a power in words. And just this morning I saw, and I know I talked about social media in not such a light way before, but I saw a post this morning where someone was talking about don't talk death into your life. And I was like, And it was like, you know, again, coming back to the beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves, you know, like, oh, I hate my body, or, you know, my job sucks, or all these kind of things. You're talking death into your life. And it's like, think about the words that you not only speak, but also think, because that's all part of your manifestation. The more you bring that energy in, the more you're going to get it.
Absolutely. I just wrote a blog last week, as a matter of fact, on the monkey mind. And how the Buddha said over 2,000 years ago that we've got all of this chatter going on that is oftentimes used as a protection mechanism, but in fact, it's really holding us back. And it's creating more fear than anything else. And when we succumb to the monkey mind, or the monkeys, and they are in control, it can really take you down a path that is not enlightening at all. But when you can calm them down, you know, and I actually said in this blog, you know, if you could just sort of say, as if you would say to a child, or, you know, like, let's pause, let's take a breath. You know, let's change the way we're looking at this, and let's calm down. You know, let's look for what's right and what's wrong here. And oftentimes that will help to settle down the monkeys. You know, so much of what I always say, even with the beliefs, you know, I say this to clients all the time: is it controlling you, or are you controlling it? Same thing with the monkey mind. Is it controlling you today, or are you controlling it, or them, so to speak?
And that's, again, it's coming back to being conscious and being aware, because so many of us just go through autopilot. You know, we go through our day not conscious of, like, you could drive to work and not even remember every single turn. You know, we just become these autopilots of our life, and before you know it, a year's gone, 2 years are gone, and you're like, where did all that go? You know, like, and we're not, and I know this is something that really became apparent to me when I was in LA, was there's so many people living a life, but they're not in it.
Yes.
So like, consciousness is such a big thing.
Yes. I actually use this, this line also with clients, like, don't just live out the rest of your life, like, live the life of your dreams. So many people are so comfortable just sort of going into autopilot and just, you know, doing what they need to do to get through whatever they think they need to get through, versus to have and to experience and to enjoy. I mean, there are so many people that truly still have this collective consciousness of life needs to be difficult, or else I haven't done my job, or I'm not good enough. They've equated their value, their worth, to how difficult a situation is.
Yeah, exactly. I was coaching with someone yesterday, and they were going through a really rough spot. And I said to them, you know, like, they were trying to think of what they were going to do next. And I was like, you know, just take a step back. Like, let's just imagine this is a whiteboard. You've just going to wipe it clear, just let go of everything else, just wipe it clear, and just answer this question. If today was the last day you had to do this, is this what you would do? And they just went, oh. And then so it changed the mindset from a, you know, this stuck kind of, you know, not knowing, to a, oh, I'm actually going to be grateful for what I've got, and I'm actually going to see the value of what I've got, and I'm going to make the most of it. And it was just like this mind shift just like that. And I was like, yeah, if we can just step back and actually see how grateful and how lucky we are to have this life and live it, actually live it, grab it by both horns and live it, instead of just trying to drag ourselves through.
Yes. Yes, that's brilliant. You know, I also love to I love to have clients do something in the morning and something in the evening just to return back to them. It's a practice that's within the work that I do that was developed by one of my mentors, Nancy Levin. And what I love to tell people to do, even at night, is just if you can just, when you're laying in bed before you fall asleep, just think of 3 things that you're grateful for. Just 3 things, even if it's the fact that you just made it to the bed, that you had some food, like whatever it is. And it's not to sort of be trivial about it. It's really to look at and taking a pause again and allowing yourself to see, yeah, even in the challenge, I have something that I could be grateful for. I mean, because we could talk about, in every challenge, there's a lesson, there's a journey within a challenge. We can go on and talk about that for an hour. But if you can find that gratitude every day, if you can end with that gratitude and start with the gratitude, and it takes less than 10 seconds sometimes, it can change your entire life and certainly change your entire day.
And even just the little things, I know some people I talk to, they can't find joy or happiness in anything. And I'm just like, do you ever just sit and watch a sunset, just watch a cloud and go, wow, and wonder in nature and all the things around us and how they came to be, just the little things. And it's so hard for some people to just disconnect and be able to do that. But it's so, it just changes your whole mindset and your approach in life if you can just stop, breathe, and appreciate those simple things.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It's a game changer. And it's very simple and it's free, but it is definitely a game changer. But, you also have to sort of meet them where they are and realize that there's something underneath that's really, really deep. That's prohibiting them from even that tiniest little bit of joy.
Yeah.
And that's something that I love to support people to discover for themselves.
Now, Michael, if people want to find out more about what you do and get in touch and maybe work with you, where can they go?
Well, my website's probably the best place, michaelmammina.com. Really easy, just my name.com. And on there, there's lots of ways to get in touch with me. There's a free ebook on there, 5-minute steps to the life you want. Grab that. That'll put you on an email list so you can hear all my great travels and all my great things that are possible there. But also there is a free discovery there. I love to just connect with people, no obligation, just to see if there's a way that they need to be supported. So that's on my website as well. And then social media, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, and even I've joined the TikTok world just to be a different kind of influence there, just to bring a little bit of calm. So you can find me on TikTok as well.
I love it. He's on the TikTok.
Yes.
Now,
he doesn't know what he's doing on the TikTok, but he's there.
None of us do.
Right.
Now, Michael, I got the last big question for you. What's the change you'd like to see in the world and how can we bring it to life?
The change that I would love to see in the world truly is for people to believe and love themselves. And that, I believe, is the core of so much that can change the world, because the more we can all love ourselves, then we're not trying to grapple and get it from somewhere else. It becomes internal validation. And then the world can change from there, because you have the ability to really stand in your power and to be comfortable with who you are and express your love. So that's really the change I would like to see. I would love to see people stepping into self-love in a much greater way. And tell me what the second part of that question was.
How can we bring it to life?
How do we bring it to life? Well, by working with amazing people like yourself and me. And also there are so many amazing books out there and podcasts and, how do we bring it to life? By embodying it in yourself and being an example for other people. That's how you bring it to life.
And imagine if we amplified that around the world.
Absolutely.
What a different place it would
are.
be. We are one conversation at a time.
We are. Yes. Yes.
Oh, Michael, I know I could talk to you all day, but I'm going to give you some space because I don't think we've finished this conversation. I think there'll be more to come. I can't thank you enough for being part of the Ethical Evolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com.
Or Whatever Movies is our podcast.
A movie discussion podcast hosted by yours truly, Iris, and my older brother.
I'm Wesley. So we talk about recent and favorite feature films.
In a brotherly and sisterly way.
Is that good or bad?
It's great.
And between the two of us, we've seen thousands of movies.
So check out hundreds of episodes at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And subscribe to Or Whatever Movies, presented by Society 13 and the Electrocast Network.
Electrocast.
Introducing the Deep Leadership Podcast. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former submarine officer who spent 22 years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Deep Leadership is real-world, actionable leadership advice from John and his expert guests. Become a leader worth following. Subscribe today.
Electrocast. Electrocast.